Hello everybody, I am Lauren Harpster from Bead and Blossom. Today we are doing the first part of our Black-Eyed Susans. We're going to be making the flower petals using the continuous crossover loop technique, and we're going to be making bud petals using the continuous loop technique. And I will be demonstrating both of those techniques in this video, but I do have separate technique videos if you want to refresh on those as well. Alright, I've gone ahead and pre-strung all of my 11-0 yellow seed beads onto 24 gauge copper core wire in a gold color, and that is a 0.5 millimeter size for those of you on metric. And we're going to start with the bud petals for our Black-Eyed Susan. Now the pattern that we're going to work with is 10 continuous loops using 2 inches of beads per loop. So to start out, we need a 2 to 3 inch tail of bare wire at the beginning. And I'm going to pinch and hold those beginning beads right there with my thumb and forefinger. And then I'm going to measure out 2 inches of beads for my first loop. Fold those beads right in half. And again, I'm pinching and holding both sides of this loop with my thumb and forefinger so that no gaps form between any of the beads. And then I'm going to twist 2, 3, and I'm actually going to pinch that loop closed like that. And that is our first loop. I'm going to leave a small little bit of wire right in between, just enough to be able to make some twists, and then to have a little bit of space between the loops after I'm done twisting. I'm going to measure out 2 more inches of beads for my second loop, and I'm going to pinch and hold right there so that it doesn't move and shorten that wire in the beginning. Fold those beads in half. I'm going to go ahead and pinch and close now, and then twist 2, 3. And there's our second loop. And again, I'm going to leave just a little bit of space in the wire. See how there's a little bit of space left over between those two petals? That's what you want. So I'm going to leave just a little bit of space in the wire there. Measure out 2 more inches of beads for my next petal. Fold it in half and hold it. Close it and twist 2, 3. Leave a small space of wire. Measure out 2 inches. Fold, pinch, twist. Alright, so now I've got my 10 2-inch continuous loops, and I need to close this unit into a circle. But we're going to center the wire below so it's not off to the side. We're going to take the working end of our wire, which is still attached to our spool here, and we're going to cross over that first loop, wrap all the way around it, and then cross over the center of the flower toward the other side. And we're going to loop around one of the flower petals on the other side. And then we're going to bring both that starting tail wire and the working wire together. They should be on opposite sides of your bud petals. And we're going to bring them toward the center and twist them together. You don't need to twist down very far, maybe about an inch or a little bit less than that. Oh, beads just flew everywhere. Alright, so this is the finished bud petal unit. Now if you want, you can go ahead and mold it into a little cup shape just by pressing your thumb into the bottom of the petal and then bending that top up. just like that. And I'm going to give a little squeeze. So this is our bud petal unit. If you're making just one flower stem, you just need to make one of these because there's only one bud on the sample flower stem. Alright, now let's make some of these flower petals. I'm working directly from the spool here still. My beads are still pretty strong, so I'm not going to be cutting any wire. The pattern for our flower petals is 7 continuous crossover loops using 3 inches of beads for the starting loop. And for those of you on metric, 3 inches is about 7.6 centimeters. So again, we're going to start with a 2 to 3 inch tail in our wire. You don't really need to measure it, you can just guess. It's perfectly fine. And then we're going to measure out 3 inches of beads for our starting loop. And we're going to fold that in half, just like with a continuous loop. We're going to pinch it a little bit closed, not all the way. You want it to be narrow, but with a little bit of a gap in the center. And we're going to twist the 2 wires below, 2 times. All right, now we are going to cross over the front of this loop and then down the back with more beads. So we're going to bring more beads down from our spool. And I'm going to lay those beads flat against the front of my petal. And then I'm going to measure the beads I need to reach the top of the loop. And I'm going to move those beads out of the way. And I'm going to pinch and hold my loop and the new row together while I bend wire right down over the tip of that loop. Let me zoom in here. You want that wire to go between 2 beads right at the tip of your loop. And then I'm going to go ahead and push down on that wire to fold it tightly against the back just to hold it in place while I get my beads into position. I'm going to bring more beads up from my spool. I'm going to push those very tightly right against the back of my loop. And I'm going to bring those beads down the back side of that starting loop. And I'm going to measure out the beads I need to reach the bottom of that starting loop, right where those wires are. I'm going to pinch and hold all these rows together right down at the bottom. And then wrap my working wire around that starting wire 2 or 3 times. And that's going to finish off that first petal. I'm going to flatten these beads gently with my fingers so that all the rows of beads lay side by side, just like that. And we need to make 6 more petals just like this one. So again, we're going to measure out, well, first we're going to leave a little small space in the wire there. And then we're going to measure out 3 inches for our starting loop. And we're going to fold them in half. Pinch it so it's narrow but still open. And then we're going to twist 2 times. I'm going to go ahead and bring that wire up over the front of my loop. Bring more beads down from my spool. And notice that I'm not letting the beads go down past the bottom of my starting loop here. I'm keeping them right even with that starting loop, or the bottom of the starting loop. And again, we're going to hold that in place while we measure out the beads we need to reach the tip. And we're going to push down on that wire to get that working wire right between those 2 beads at the top of our loop. And we're going to bring more beads down from our spool to make the row of beads on the back side of our petal. Measure out the beads you need to reach the bottom, and then pinch and hold those in place. And then we're going to wrap the working wire around that bottom wire 2 or 3 times. And then go ahead and flatten that petal. All right, again, we're going to leave a small space in our wire. Hold that still with your thumb and forefinger there. Measure out 3 inches of beads for the starting loop. Fold it in half and pinch it till it's a little narrow. Twist. Fold over the front. Over the top. And down the back. Pinch and hold, and then wrap your working wire. And flatten. Alright, so there's the first 3 petals, and you're going to continue making them until there are 7 total. Alright, so I finished up my 7 flower petals here, and we're going to close this unit into a circle, but we're also going to add a little bit of extra reinforcement to the unit as we close it. To do this, we're going to take our working wire, we're going to wrap it around this first loop, and then we're going to wrap around the second loop, and then the third, and fourth, and we're going to go all the way around until we're right back at the beginning. And what this does is that adds a little bit of extra strength to the inner circle on your unit so that things don't droop so much. And I'm going to go ahead and just twist the working and tail wires together off to the side. And then I'm going to cut my wires here 2 or 3 inches. And there we have one of our petal units. Now if you're making the full stem with 2 flowers, you need to make 4 of these, 2 for each of the flowers.